breaking news as of 2:20 p.m. Not only do we have an article from 2:20 p.m. to look over, but also there is a video out showing that Hugh Jackman is indeed returning to play Wolverine in Deadpool 3. And let's just say I've got some mixed thoughts. I got some mixed thoughts about it myself. As much as I love Hugh Jackman and I love him especially as Wolverine, this is going to be Deadpool in the MCU. This is going to be MCU level Deadpool. This is going to be Disney run Marvel, Kevin Feige run Marvel, trying to do a Deadpool movie. So let's just say I do still have some doubts, and I do still have my share of skepticism when it comes to the project, because I love Wolverine, I love Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, I love Ryan Reynolds, and I love his iteration of Deadpool, but I don't trust Disney. I just do not trust them with any property anymore at this point, especially if it is within the MCU. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, they want to get their hopes up, they want to be excited for things, and I get that, trust me. There are things that I think are worth getting excited over. Shows like, for instance, Reacher. Shows like Jack Ryan. And shows like Cobra Kai, which have consistently shown themselves, or at least initially shown themselves, to be good and to continue to grow and to continue to do everything that it needed to do. When it comes to the MCU, though, we have not seen that same track record. So it's not that I'm trying to put anyone down. It's that I'm trying to keep it real. I'm trying to be realistic with this. On paper, this should be an amazing movie. On paper, this should be a massive billion-dollar-plus film. The return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds back as Deadpool. Who knows how many other actors and how many other characters they're going to get in the process. What it all comes down to is, how much control does Ryan Reynolds have over his character? It seems, based off of this early trailer, he seems to still have the same level of control. But is that perceived control, or is that the actual case? And that's a major factor. Because, again, I want to be excited for it, but I have been let down one too many times by too many Disney-run properties, and so I'm just going to keep it real. And that's, again, if you want to know why I have some concerns about Deadpool 3, let me give you and raise you a She-Hulk. The fact that that show even exists, the fact that that show was ever even thought of in the first place, and that it is being released still, it is an atrocity. I cannot underestimate or overestimate just how bad She-Hulk truly is. The last couple of episodes especially, nothing has happened except for stupid crap. Like, oh, She-Hulk goes to a wedding. She-Hulk gets drunk. Dumbest stuff. But that is the current era of Disney. That is the current era of the Disney MCU. And so, it is that MCU that is going to raise some concerns for me when it comes to any and all of their future projects, including the ones that I have some excitement for, including this new release and new topic of Deadpool 3 with Hugh Jackman's return. That is going to be, I think, a major factor, is what do they do with that character? Jonathan, I'm not trying to crush your hopes, dude. I'm just trying to stay real. I'm just trying to keep it realistic. Because as I mentioned, I think that the news is pretty great. I think that Ryan Reynolds is someone who I trust. I do not trust Disney. I do not trust Kevin Feige. I do not trust the Disney machine with the Deadpool property. Because what have they done for us lately? What's the last truly good MCU product, either show or movie? The last one that I can remember is Infinity War. Because people need to remember that we really can't count Spider-Man No Way Home, for those that did enjoy that movie, because ultimately that was mostly a Sony production. 75% of the budget was from Sony. 75% of the profits went back to Sony. Yes, you have Kevin Feige as a producer, but guess what? You also had Amy Pascal, who represented Sony, as a producer as well. So to try and say, that's evidence, it's like, nope. They were working with Sony on that one, and ultimately it was the Sony era Spider-Man that were the main reason as to why that film was as successful as it was, and why so many people enjoyed that film was because it was nostalgia, and it was nostalgia done right. Whereas when you have Disney by itself trying to do nostalgia with a multiverse, right? You can do a lot of things with it. What do? We get Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, which was a complete crap show. So for anyone that might try to say that, we have to go back to 2017, really, to find the last truly great MCU Marvel product. So, again, I have reason to be concerned about this. Hugh Jackman, that's a great name. A lot of buzz around it, a lot of positivity around that. I think that's great. Ryan Reynolds, I think the dude is hilarious. Deadpool, fun character. But MCU Deadpool, we have yet to see what that looks like. We have yet to see what that will end up. Snorpipus Cuber says, I'm seeing red. Absolutely. Kimberly G says, I'm trying to have hope for Deadpool 3. Rad to Kevin Feige touches it. That's just the thing, though. It is going to be an MCU movie. So, unless something has changed, he is the executive producer on all things MCU. So, this is no longer a Fox property. This is not a Fox and Disney collaboration. This is a Disney-owned product now. And so, Deadpool 3 is going to be a complete Disney MCU production. Yeah, they might try to throw the 20th Century Studios logo on it to try to give you some nostalgia, but ultimately, it's a Disney product. And so Kevin Feige is going to have a lot of involvement with it, unless something changes. And that's why it ultimately, for me, comes down to how involved is Ryan Reynolds going to be in the actual product and in the actual project. As you can see, Hugh Jackman, big news of the day, right? Hugh Jackman is returning as Wolverine in Deadpool 3 Marvel Pick Books release date. Ryan Reynolds just announced on social media that Hugh Jackman will reprise his role as Wolverine in Disney Marvel's, that's the key, Disney Marvel's Deadpool 3. And that pick is coming out September 6th, 2024. That's the post-Labor Day weekend slot where Warner Brothers historically has launched a horror movie. Disney already had the release date on hold, as does New Line for a horror pick. That was already an interesting decision to not use Labor Day weekend. Now, I'm sure it's something to do with their scheduling and that they think they have a plan, but I don't know. Personally, I think that might be a missed opportunity. It says, hey everyone, we're extremely sad, this was from the video, to have missed D23, but we've been working very hard on the next Deadpool movie for a good while now, Ryan Reynolds says. I've had to really search my soul on this one. His first appearance in the MCU obviously needs to feel special. We need to stay true to the character and find new depth, motivation, meaning. Every Deadpool needs to stand out and stand apart. It's been an incredible challenge that has forced me to reach deep down, and I have nothing. Yeah, completely empty up there and terrifying, but we did have one idea. Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time? Ryan Reynolds asks as Jackman walks by in the background of the frame, gnashing an apple or something. Yeah, sure, Ryan, he replies, heading upstairs. So, again, I do think that release and that way of showing it and that way of announcing it's pretty fun. It says 2016, 2018 Deadpool movies combined were a huge success box office-wise for the Marvel in the R-rated space, together grossing $1.56 billion. Both Deadpool films and the Jackman-led 2017 X-Men spin-off Logan debuted on Disney Plus in July. And, of course, Disney Plus has since added a section to their overall content to allow for the R-rated content to exist. It says Ryan Reynolds first appeared as Wade Wilson in the 2009 Fox Marvel movie X-Men Origins Wolverine, of course, which starred Hugh Jackman. So that, to me, will be interesting because you'll be able to have a lot of fun with that potentially. But right now, no indication about whether or not the film will be rated R or not. We can assume that it will be. We can assume that it will be with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds involved, but there's no guarantee of it. Disney very well could try to play the game of, well, we want to make as much money as we can, and rated R movies don't make as much money, which, as we all know, is just a complete and utter lie, because if it's a good movie, it will make money. Because if you release a bad PG-13 watered-down version of a movie, hey, guess what? It might be accessible to more people, doesn't mean that you're going to have more people actually watching it. But it was that mention of Disney Marvel's Deadpool 3. So at least nothing from that article talking about what type of involvement we are going to see from Ryan Reynolds. We can assume that it's going to be very heavy. And I think the video is meant to make us think that. And I hope that is the case. But also, anyone else kind of feel like this stinks of desperation a little bit too? I mean, honestly, think about the current state of the MCU. Think about all the Disney Plus shows, all of the recent MCU movies. You know, even if you were to look to Doctor Strange 2 and say, hey, it made over $950 million worldwide, that's a pretty big hit. When you compare that to how much money it made, around $450 million opening weekend worldwide, the movie actually should have made a lot more money than it ended up making. So you then compare that to what happened with Thor Ragnarok, rather Thor Love and Thunder, which did make its money back, but only just so, and is still one of the lowest grossing as far as net profit movies are concerned in the history of the MCU in comparison to its massive $250 million budget. I think that you have to have some concerns about what they are going to do with this film. Also, 2024 is quite a ways away. So what's going to happen between now and 2024 when this film gets released? We already see that the MCU is in full swing. We've seen that with terrible atrocities like She-Hulk. Again, She-Hulk is just downright atrocious. The only reason why I'm even still watching it is because it's something that we typically talk about on Friday Night Tights. However, I've not had the chance to talk about it recently, unfortunately. So I feel like I've been watching it for no reason other than to talk about it on this show, which I know most people who watch this care nothing for She-Hulk. But I can tell you that it is downright trash. It is actually, in my opinion, worse than Miss Marvel. And I thought Miss Marvel was the bottom of the barrel. Nope. She-Hulk was like, hey, hold my glass of Chardonnay. Actually, let's be honest here. Hold my glass of boxed wine, said She-Hulk. Because it's just that atrocious. So you look to that clearly are pushing this MCU narrative. You even go back to Doctor Strange. Who was the main character of the film? It wasn't Doctor Strange. It was America Chavez. Go back to a show that we knew exactly what was going to happen in Hawkeye. It wasn't the Hawkeye show. It was the Kate Bishop show. We've already seen the direction that they are clearly pushing the MCU. And so looking at this film coming out in 2024, there's two ways of thinking about it. Either one, it means that the entire MCU is going to be in full swing at that point, which means, hey, how does that impact Deadpool 3? Gives you concerns right there. Or two, because it's 2024 and it's still a couple of years away, maybe, just maybe, it could be enough. It could be enough time for Disney to see that what they're doing isn't working, that they're not making money, that they're not making as much money as they could, and they begin to change. Now, I've got my doots about that. I've got a lot of doots about Disney changing at all, but I do still think it's a mixed bag here. Because the other factor is, as much as I love Wolverine coming back and I love Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine, there was a sense of completion with the film Logan. This now definitely changes the dynamic of that movie, because one of the reasons why that film is so powerful, at least for me, was the fact that it was supposed to be his last iteration of the character. And so now that he's coming back, it's like, okay, so clearly they threw a lot of money his way to say, all right, we need you here because we're out of ideas and we want to make sure that this film makes money and you are someone who can guarantee these things. But remember, you had Patrick Stewart in Doctor Strange 2. You had John Krasinski in Doctor Strange 2 playing Mr. Fantastic. You had a lot of elements that ended up being some of the worst elements of that film, because ultimately it came to them only being there to be cannon fodder for the strong whammon characters. And now for a huge shout out for all of my September Patreon, Subscribestar, and Locals members. Starting off with my Patreon members, Chris from the 80s, that's his YouTube channel, Garrett Searles, Hymir Irie Hymason, Jeff Toon, Jonathan Carney, Laura, the Modern Major General Story, Orange Hair Reviews, you can also find on YouTube by the same name, Rosetta Allen, YouTube's name is Eagle Rider, Stan Andrian, and Miss Martin Muses, and that is her YouTube channel. Thank y'all very much for supporting me over on Patreon. Also, for all my Subscribestar peeps, Matt317, that's his Twitch channel name, support him there. Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Mr. Roy, J-Ron, the Beer Guru, and the K-Man. Thank you, K-Man, as well, and you can find him at xtheboundaries.co, and thanks to all of my Subscribestar members. And lastly, to my Locals members, Locals has definitely been hopping a lot more recently. Shout out to Miss Minnesota hockey fan, how about a hockey player, UAB Mad Dog, UAB Mad Dog, Mike Jackson for the win, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer Robert Barnes. Thank y'all for supporting me over on Locals. And an extra special shout out to newer members, Joey Horn, who is back once again, and the Empress of the Universe, Tina B. And if you want your name shouted out vocally at the end of every single live stream and video, make sure that you support me over on Patreon, Subscribestar, or Locals, and you can find out more information about it on those websites, and check out the top link in the video description below if you want to find out more about how to get that, access to podcasts that I do with John the Flickinger, and also how to be featured on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, which I do once a month with my Chosen of Valhalla members, and it's always a lot of fun. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today. You guys all have an amazing rest of your day. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Beautiful people, and as always, God bless. And now for